Iowa has a rock and roll Hall of Fame? I was surprised when I learned this because Iowa doesn't exactly have a lot of famous musicians. We have Slipknot, the guitarist from Deep Purple, Julia Michaels, the lead singers of Owl City and Fun, a couple jazz stars, and that's about it. But as I scrolled through the Hall of Fame's list, I noticed an interesting name. Buddy Holly. Buddy Holly was not from Iowa, but the state of Iowa is very important to the story of Holly and the rock industry as a whole. Charles Hardin Holly, better known by the stage name Buddy Holly, was born in Texas in 1936. After seeing a performance by Elvis Presley, he decided to become a rock star. He quickly rose to fame with his band The Crickets, codifying the two guitarists, a bass player, and a drummer lineup. After splitting from the Crickets and being robbed by his manager, Holly decided to go on tour again to get money for a new life with his new wife. In 1959, he went on tour with Ritchie Valens and the Big Bopper. The Big Bopper, real name Giles Perry Richardson Jr., was a DJ turned songwriter. He also arguably created the first ever music video. Richard Steven Valenzuela, stage name Ritchie Valens, was a young Mexican-American rocker. When he was 15, a mid-air plane collision rained debris down on his school, killing several classmates and leaving him with a fear of flying he overcame while touring with Holly. There's a great biopic on Valens called La Bamba. When I first saw it, I had no clue who he was, making the film's ending, where he gets on the plane with Holly, a horrific twist. The musicians were touring through the Midwest on cold, cramped school buses. Holly's drummer, Carl Bunch, was hospitalized for frostbite after one of the buses broke down in Michigan. Some days on the tour got as cold as negative 36 degrees Fahrenheit. 11 days into the tour, after a show in Clear Lake, Iowa, Holly had had enough. He chartered a small four-seater plane to take him to a show in Fargo, arriving early and giving him time to rest. In addition to Holly and the pilot, there were two other seats on the small plane. Valens won a seat after winning a coin toss with guitarist Tommy Alsop. Bass player Waylon Jennings gave the remaining seat to Richardson, who was sick with the flu. Right before the plane left, Richardson joked that he hoped the bus would freeze. Jennings responded by saying he hoped the plane would crash. The weather was poor, forcing pilot Roger Peterson to rely on instruments. Peterson wasn't trained in instrument-only flying, but the poor weather wasn't included in the weather briefings. Unbeknownst to Peterson, the plane displayed altitude upside down from what he was used to, causing him to think he was climbing as the plane hurtled towards the ground. The plane crashed 6 miles north of Mason City after only a few minutes of flying. All 4 passengers died instantly. Upon hearing the news, Holly's wife Maria suffered a miscarriage. Because of this, the policy of waiting to reveal victims' names in news stories was created. The story of the day the music died is a story of coincidence and minor choices that spiraled into disaster. Ritchie Valens died and Tommy Alsop lived because of the flip of a coin. The Big Bopper died because of a broken down bus, a bout of influenza, and the kindness of a friend. Bad tour planning, an incomplete weather report, the plane's instruments, and a night of bad weather, all inconsequential on their own, combined to create a tragedy. Despite his short career, Bob Dylan, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and countless other musicians took inspiration from Holly. The crash inspired Don McLean to write American Pie, a masterpiece of a ballad that ties together the history of rock, the turmoil of the 60s, and McLean's loss of innocence, all centered on that horrible plane crash in Iowa. When he died, Buddy Holly was 22. The Big Bopper was 28. Ritchie Valens was 17.